Whenever you're ready, Steve.
It's a little after 9, so we'll call UW Extension meeting to order. The first order of business would be to public comment or items they'd like to place on the agenda for next month. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak?
There is no one in, there are no participants that have joined the online meeting.
We'll close that portion then. Next, we'll approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Any corrections or changes if necessary?
I move we approve the meeting minutes from March, I believe, right?
March 17th.
Yes, we did have one.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Then we'll go to safety share with Tom.
Does anybody have anything to share? Summer, I do believe the sun is out, so sunscreen is used. My grandson went to the track meet for his school and came back burnt, and before that, everybody had to sign a slip saying they could put sunscreen on, and nobody put any sunscreen on. So just because you signed a slip doesn't mean it's going to happen, so be careful and watch where you are and take care of that. And you still have the COVID thing going on, so if you feel like wearing a mask, wear a mask. Is there anything else?
I have a department update related to safety. Our department, along with all of the other departments, are in the current process of updating our continuation of operations plans. So it's a process that, one, they're living documents, but they are in the event of an emergency natural disaster or some other event that would require our department or any of the other departments to have anything out of normal operations, what our plan would be to do that. One of the things that is interesting is that our office we don't have any actions or responsibilities that are required under state statute or county ordinance to respond. So while we may not count as essential in some of those areas, oftentimes our roles or our jobs are to help other departments liaise with state groups, agencies, provide outreach, education, information, especially in the area of, say, food safety, financial stress, those types of things. So we are in the process and we can share those. We're actually planning sometime probably late summer or early fall to do a tabletop exercise of our team together of, okay, if we'll pick a scenario, if this happens, how would we make sure that we adapt to make so that we can be up and running? And where the safety part of that comes in is that there are, so a couple of years ago, our office, we have safety response, kind of like small personal safety go kits. So if someone has to evacuate the office in a very short period of time, that there's a flashlight and some other basic first aid supplies and some things like that. The other recommendation, there's two recommendations. One, if to have a professional go kit ready. So if, for example, our staff, and this is something that our staff, we've just started talking about, if we are able to work remotely, and then what we need to be ensure that we're in the habit of taking our laptops home with us on a regular basis, or when there is a threat of weather or a situation, because that's what we need, because you have to assume that this building is not going to be accessible to be able to get those. And then the other recommendation, strongly recommended by Homeland Security, Red Cross, all of the other, is for each of the families to have a preparedness or a go kit in the case that they're displaced from their homes, so that you are able to be able to be safe and have some basic needs. Well, you are able to, your family personally is able to, like, quote unquote, get back on your feet in the case of that. There's a couple of Red Cross is probably the best source of some suggestions for disaster preparedness go kits, but that's something that I've learned in the last week or so, because the thing is that we are people-based, And if our people aren't able to respond, then our response plan is essentially null and void because we need people to be able to respond. So not saying that, you know, if Dana's house collapses and she has no water and no electricity, she's got some bigger things to worry about. And but you know, what are those pieces that we can do to be able to at least be able to communicate with her to know where she may be able to interact or with any of those response plans. So so just an FYI, just kind of a safety related, some things that I've learned, and more information is probably going to be forthcoming, just to be able to respond appropriately.
Any other comments on safety? Next, I'd like to welcome Karen Haran. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you.
And if we could, we'll all introduce ourselves and just tell you a little about why we're here. I'm Steve Binder. I've been on this committee, I believe, for around 5 years and currently the chairman.
Kay Haran, brand spanking new. From Nina. And we have 2 boys who are business owners up in Nina and Menasha. And dogs, 3 grandchildren, and interested in education. Finding out more stuff to cram my brain with. See how much more confused I can become. We missed you, Tom.
I know, but Tom Borchard, I'm here because you told me to come. I've been on the board for 4 years, I think.
I believe.
And Tom Snyder, the previous board, kind of got me in here because just like you, when you first start out, you don't know what to put you on a committee. I don't know. Put me where you ever want. And this committee is quite awesome from the standpoint, it's got so many things it does. So, and it's got good people doing it, so it's a good place to learn how to get things done. Rather than the bureaucracy you go through at the county level. That's it.
Karen Powers, I've been on the committee, I think 5 years. I think it's Steve and I came in about the same time, so I'm guessing about 5 years. And was a Girl Scout growing up, so I knew nothing about 4-H and was a city girl, didn't know about agriculture, but I have learned a lot in this group and really thoroughly enjoy it. I got to judge animals last year in the barns, and I learned things there too. Who knew that male pigs had teeth just like the females? I mean, I thought I was looking at a girl. So you'll learn a lot. And the kids were so engaged with their animals. I truly enjoyed that. Somebody mentioned the other night, you know, they're not on their phones, flipping around. They're fully engaged, grooming them, shoveling stuff, sweeping stuff. They're busy. They're busy out there all the time with those animals. You could tell they really care. I came across one group of some cattle. I don't know if I was looking at, I think cows laying down, and when they got closer, I realized that in these 3 cows, there were also 3 or 4 kids sleeping on their cows, like a big nest. And I thought, oh, these cows have now had little puppies here. So they got to start talking to me about their animals. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's my history with agriculture.
Hi, Doug Zelmer. I'm on my 2nd term on the board, and this will be my 3rd year on this committee. It's a great committee. I love it. I'm a graduate of UW River Falls, the same place Chris went, only I'm a lot older. So I'm a farm kid. This is right in my wheelhouse. Thank you.
You could introduce the staff. Sure,
Yeah.
great.
Sure.
My name is Sarah Thompson. I work as 4-H youth and science educator. It's a county funded position. So I work with Dana with 4-H, and I've been in the office for a number of years.
I'm Dana Berger. I'm the 4-H program educator. I began in December of 2018, so not as green as I was a few years ago when I'm learning. So again, and yeah, work with Sarah on 4-H programming.
I'm Mia Jung. I work as a community development educator for both Winnebago and Allegheny counties, mostly focused on economic development, mostly with underserved audiences like entrepreneurs of color, but also do work within organizations, some organizational development work, and I also do some farmland preservation, farmland access work, but that's mostly in Allegheny County right now. So I'm trying to do most of my work regionally because I serve 2 counties, but some of it is more specific to 1 county. So that's who I am.
And
Todd Wenzel, I'm a human development and relationships educator. I've been here 3 years and a couple of days. I do primarily financial education in Winnebago County. Rental education, RentSmart is the biggest thing of what we do. But yeah, financial education in the county and statewide.
Amy?
I'm Amy Hendrickson. I am one of our office's administrative staff, so I help with all the operations like ordering, supplies, finances, and I also support primarily the human development and relationships educator who also does health and well-being education as well.
And I'm Chris View. I am my current title is Area Extension Director. I'm an 18-year veteran of extension in Wisconsin, serving in a couple different roles, primarily in 4-H youth development in Dunn County, Wood County, a statewide role, and then also now in the administrative role. So I provide administrative leadership to 3 counties, to Winnebago, Allegheny, and Waupaca counties. And then also have some oversight responsibilities with Calumet. So so serving as the department head and the administrative leadership for those 3 extension departments. So.
Can I say just a little bit more about myself? As I'm hearing from 4-H and animals and that kind of thing. My passion in my private world is knitting. And I have discovered that fiber and knitting is a big world that starts here and it just goes out to here. Generally speaking, annually, I'm going down to Jefferson to the Sheep and Wool Festival. And as you say, Karen, these kids are with their animals the whole time, and how they know how to go into a show ring and put the feet in the correct position and have these animals standing absolutely perfectly with their heads up and their back legs out. It's fascinating.
I was very proud of kids.
Yeah, and they range in age. Obviously, UW-Madison is out there the whole time and they're keeping it organized. And it's just fascinating. They sell fleeces. They have a guy who's out there showing you how to shear sheep. It's fascinating.
And like most of our meetings, like you'll get an agenda like this in the mail, and there's basically a presentation or 2 every meeting. And if we're gonna vote on something, it'll be on there, discussed in action. So then you know that that's something we're gonna basically discuss and vote on. If you don't see that on here, like today, it's just presentations. We get updates from the different departments that run out of extension. So we know where they're going, what their plans are. If they need procedure changes, then they'll bring that to us. And that's our job, is to change the procedures and try to, if we believe that it's necessary, then we support them and we give them the support that we need to try to get what they need.
Okay.
So basically, it's pretty much it's a learning 1.5 to 2 hours.
If there is something that is getting voted on, do you get the background information on that?
Yes, we are required to provide a memo, a backgrounder memo, when they're, at least the things that come from our department. There's other groups that come fall under the jurisdiction. So at least things that come from here, from me and our department will have some type of backgrounder to be able to provide you with information.
And if anytime we don't feel we have enough information, we can just lay it over to the next meeting and ask for more information. So we don't have to make a decision on anything that given meeting. We can ask for more information and have that either sent to us versus email look it over it, and they can come back the following month and we can move that forward from there. So don't ever feel pressure that, we have to pass something today because the world's gonna end. It's not, it will be fine.
So just for chuckle, I guess this is what government work is, huh? Let's just keep on passing it down and down and down, and maybe some point it'll get concluded.
Yeah, I mean, most
It
things,
takes time.
it takes time.
And I'm learning that my impatience potentially doesn't serve me well.
No, I mean,
It will serve you well.
on average, if you want to get something like the project across the street at the Expo Center, that took about 2.5 years to get that project going.
Okay.
So it's like from start to finish, it's something you talk about, and then you have to get the money for the, an engineering study, and then you got to basically get the money for the construction, then you got to bid it out. So nothing happens fast.
So then it has to go through the first section, then go to the next section, then go to the next section, and then it comes to the board, who then says, do I have all the information? And it goes back down.
Yeah, it basically goes to 3 committees and then the board.
Okay.
So
Thank you for explaining that.
And then for another meeting, maybe Chris can say he's really a master of 2 areas, right? University of Wisconsin and then county, because they're 2 separate entities that
Yeah.
impact
Yes.
this. But just so you know, the total confusion is that it's even more complicated.
More
And
complicated.
Tom, just so you know, I came prepared, so I'm gonna, when it comes to my report, I'm gonna try to give small pieces, but that is, I'm gonna explain a little bit about the unique partnership, the county's UW partnership with this extension. So I'll try to give it in a smaller, non-head exploding version.
Yeah, and you can, in order to leave, you just have to pass the test that he hands out at the end of it.
I don't think I would pass
next we go on to the Winnebago Fair Association. Mike Dumpke, but I don't see him once he's on Zoom.
Nope, I have not heard from him yet, so I'll reach out to him after and find out if we can get him on for next month.
Okay, so then we'll go to the
Do
UW.
we have a date for the fair?
Yes.
The 3rd through the 7th? Yeah.
When is it?
August 3rd through the 7th. We have prepared judging with a lot of our youth in the expo building on Monday and Tuesday prior to that, but the actual fair is the 13th.
They'll usually send you a letter asking to judge the barns. So if you're interested in animals, I do it every year. It's fun to walk through there, talk to the kids, and they can tell you more information about the goats and horses. I mean, from a Tennessee trotter, I had no idea what a horse is a horse to me, but they all have different.
And who knew goats were lawnmowers?
Yeah.
Yes, very good one.
They eat everything.
Including poison ivy.
Wow.
Do they eat poison ivy?
My husband's school in Western Michigan, they actually hired a group of goats to come in and eat all of the poison ivy that was on campus.
Wow. And it doesn't hurt them?
No.
Wow.
It's like a
See,
seed.
Karen, we all have things to learn. And they do yoga too.
Goats are kind
Next, we'll go to the UW Division of Extension Program Education Reports and Updates with Maya.
Yeah, yes. Thank you, Steve. I'll give just a little highlight of some things I've been up to, and you'll get an update that's a little bit more comprehensive since we have a couple of new faces, but I'll just provide that in a written form. First of all, I just want to give you a heads up that the community gardens map has been relaunched. There was some kind of like a blast going out saying, please sign up if you know community gardens in the Fox Valley area. It is on our website. So the idea is to create a map, a directory of community gardens in the Fox Valley, starting obviously with Outagamie, Winnebago counties. So if you know of any garden that is not mapped, please let us know. All the information is on the website. We want this to grow, and we will also maybe down the road want to kind of see if there are needs for more community gardens. So it's kind of like that, it can serve a lot of purposes. for community members to be able to go somewhere and know where the gardens are, because we do get calls pretty much on a weekly basis, like where are the gardens? Obviously, Winnebago County has a garden in the partnership with AdvoCap, but Extension doesn't generally hold community gardens, but there are a lot of ones out there. Yes, Tom?
Just, you see it's on the website, Winnebago County website.
Yep.
And then what, UW Extension?
Yeah, I mean, Extension, Winnebago County's website. If you don't see it on the,
Here, Tom. If you just type in like your search bar, Extension Winnebago County, you'll find their website.
Up here?
So that's one of the things that's unique is that we do have a county department landing page, but it redirects to our UW, our red UW page, because that's a little more dynamic and connected to our, it allows us the opportunity to connect to our outreach and research resources.
yep, and then for the past month, like every month, I interview business owners, because one of the things we know with business owners of color is that there's a lack of visibility, and marketing is a big need. So I do a spotlight every month with the Cloverbud Business Association, which is a regional business association in Northeast Wisconsin. So in April, I interviewed the Brittle Daddies that are creating this really yummy candy. I don't know if you've tried it. It's called Sharai Ghana style brittle. If you've ever been to the farmers markets, they sell, and they're in a lot of the retail stores now, and they're really building their business. So it's a really interesting concept, and their message is not just like to sell this piece of candy, it's also to educate people about, Africa is a beautiful continent, and understanding that beautiful and good things come out of Africa. So there's some interesting concepts about inclusivity, simplicity with their business. I also facilitated a grant writing workshop for multiple counties, and that was on Zoom, and that will happen again in October. So there will be information that will come out on that. And that will be both for businesses, nonprofits, or governments. So it's geared to be inclusive of different organizational types. So really understanding just the basics of grant writing. So I partnered with Brown County educator and then an educator in Eau Claire to do that workshop. I also started planning a workshop with Future Nina, obviously based out of Nina. There's new leadership in Future Nina. There's a new director, Sarah Wiley, and she reached out to me about how can we get set on a good start with her as a new director. And so I'm going to do some team building with her, and also partner with my colleague in Wapaka County, Jessica Beckendorf, to do a real colors training, which is where you understand kind of like how you work in a team and your personality and how you can work better together based off of a pretty simple tool, yet pretty powerful when you want to work well in a team. The other thing that's exciting is, so I applied for the Wisconsin Idea Internship program that is through UW-Madison, and was able to hire 2 interns for the summer. So we'll see, one person will be 100% remote, but one person will actually be in this office some, and her name is Ariel Barber, and she's going to help with communications and to reach underserved audiences in partnership with the Cloverbud Business Association. We're going to go through a plain language course together, which is really understanding how to communicate in a way that is accessible to all. And that's through UW-Madison too. And I'm excited about that. Another thing that's coming up, and you'll get this in your handout, is on June 26th, there's a pop-up shop. So it's for, it's a regional pop-up shop for entrepreneurs in Northeast Wisconsin, business resource organizations, and then community members. So the idea is to really bridge resources to entrepreneurs of color for them to know what business organizations are out there. Like, you may know the SBDCs, the WebEx, the SCORE, all of these business organizations. A lot of time though, entrepreneurs of color are not aware of these organizations and these resources that are out there. So the idea is to bridge and to provide networking opportunities, and for the vendors to sell their services or product. So that's happening. And I will just pass these around. I think that's about it. I'm not going to take up too much more. Yes, Tom.
I'm really excited about this person that's gonna be talking about communication, I think. Because if Amy wasn't sitting next to me, I never would have found the community gardens on the website.
Okay.
And I can't help but think that there's a
Yeah.
lot of people out there
Right.
that I represent, not knowing what's going on.
Right.
And I don't know what the answer is, but it's gonna be able to be used in so many different things.
That's fine. No,
Got
that's
extras
great. No, I
or
do
no?
have an extra. Yeah.
So this is kind of a, something that will be good for a lot of different places. How do
Right.
communicate?
Did anybody else want one? I have one more.
I can't take any home.
You're right. I mean, Tom, there's a lot to be said about communication, and I've noticed too, like, I'm part of a team that is statewide. It's called the Entrepreneurs of Color Support Team, and you can't find it on Google unless you go to my page for Winnebago or Outagamie County first, and then you click to, so Google is interesting. And I'm sure we could refine or to how to like bumping up, how to get the result to come up. I'm not the person to talk to. That would take some algorithms and some, but you're right. I mean, I think there's ways to make things more accessible and better communicated to the public.
And
And
that's from all our communities. You know.
yeah, and I
It's
was
gonna
thinking
help
about the community gardens, maybe creating like a little postcard or something that could also be distributed in person to businesses, organizations, where like you could actually just see something like in your hands, like this exists, and you can go here to see the map, you know? So it's accessible in other formats too, not just online.
Well, and I would say that we have a fairly large elderly population.
Right,
My family calls us silverbacks.
sure.
And I would go so far as to say computer literacy with a question mark.
Right, Right.
Having paper in hand,
yeah,
having something that I can look at, not to say that I don't have a lot of paper that gets put in a pile. But
Right.
nonetheless, having something that I'm interested in, having a piece of paper,
yeah,
identifying that. And I know that when we first moved into the community, which is about 35, 36 years ago, all of the resources there are out there, how do you know about them? How do you know about the foundations that are out there? How do you know that Ascension has childcare foundations? They've got the Cancer Foundation. They've got all kinds of within the foundation things. How do you know that the UWO Fox Cities has a foundation? Oh, it's over at the Community Foundation. Now we've got to go from here to find out about this. So yes, I think it would be huge to have something in hand
yeah,
that tells you about some of the things that
that's true.
the elderly people have difficulty with.
So bring her to show and tell next meeting. we have.
I'll talk to Ashley. She's good with the graphics and,
Yeah, and there's so many talented people out there. It's just a matter of how you reach them, because like she's saying,
right,
first of all, the older people have the time, where
mhm,
people like you and a lot of the people that are working, they don't
right.
have time.
And that's another thing. It's like the community gardens is not one of my focus areas in my big programmatic work, but I could see a need for more outreach. Like I could see a need for somebody going out there and talking to people and like, hey, because it's one thing to launch it online and say, hey, call us up if you know of a community garden, but it's one thing to actually go out there
Mhm.
and to really do some outreach and have conversations with people. And then I think this map would grow pretty fast. So that's another thing I have in the back of my head. Could we get an intern next summer to do that work, for example? That would be really amazing.
Excellent. Good thinking.
And just a little reference, like our community garden, they were gonna shut it down about 3 or 4 years ago. The committee actually got 5 acres from the Parks Department, And now if you go over on Y, just a little ways from YMCA, that's the community garden. So we wouldn't have had that if this committee wouldn't have got that piece of land. And now the county owns that land, so that'll basically stay a garden as long as we want it to.
Yeah.
And we got water from that property, so before they had to bring their own water. So like when you wanted to water your tomato plants, you have to literally carry 5 gallons of water in your trunk to water your tomato plants. Now there's a spigot over there where you can get water to water your garden. And as far as I know, it sells out every year.
Yeah, Nina has one as well behind the police department. And in fact, they've got huge containers that collect rainwater. And you can go and turn the spigot and fill up your buckets from rainwater
It's a great idea.
until it dries up.
So yeah, they're widely used.
Yeah, they are full this year. We actually had a waiting list of people who couldn't get a plot because they were already full.
So that was good that we kept that going. And, you know, I mean, a lot of people live in apartments. There's no place to grow gardens, so they can get a little piece of land.
Right, and there's no entity that is overseeing the gardens, like there used to be Extension and then Goodwill was kind of having this oversight and was able to kind of have an idea of like, you know, who can sign up but there's none of that coordination happening. So that's why at least hoping that this map will at least kind of get to at least to a point of like having an inventory, even if there's not an organizing body that is like, you know, helping with signups and stuff like that. But maybe will lead to something. I don't know. I kind of see a need for it.
As far as that goes, I've got a question. Whenever one goes to the farmer's market, you see 3 or 4 Hmong stands, and they're absolutely amazing. Are they community gardens that they utilize, or do the Hmongs have their own community
That's a
garden?
really good question, Kay. There's actually, and I'll forward this to you. There's a group at Extension that is actually doing research with Hmong farmers in Wisconsin and to understand better their needs. So a lot of times Hmong farmers will start off with community garden or market garden spaces. And one of the big barriers is that they have to move so much because of the whatever happens to those gardens, just like with Extension and Goodwill, and things change, and land that may have been available one year may not be available the next year. So there's a lot of translation. There's some language barriers for sure, sometimes with landlords, where contracts may not, you know, be easy to negotiate.
Sure.
So there's some of those barriers for sure. There are definitely Hmong farmers that own land for sure. But land is a big barrier, has been concluded through this research. And it's really a great initiative that Extension is doing, because the Hmong farmers is a really large, portion of the diverse crops, kind of vegetable growers.
The
And
flower growers?
right, you got it, yep. So it's a very good question, and it's actually something that Extension is taken very seriously, because what also Extension has noticed is we have a lot of resources for farmers, right? But for a lot of the Hmong farmers, they're not accessing this information. So there's a lot of initiatives right now with DATCAP, for example, where Extension is translating materials for resource sheets, for videos, to make it more accessible to Hmong farmers. So I'll keep it, I'm part of those meetings, so I'm learning a lot from that group, and hopefully there will be some benefits for growers here too.
They're really industrious.
Yes, that's true. I've noticed that too.
You know, something like,
Yeah, would you be part of this project? Would you get inventory of all the community gardens within the county, and then maybe get it so that someone whether it was in Oshkosh or Nina could find out who has community gardens
Yeah.
and how to get one?
Yep.
For example, Stevens Park, a supervisor used to be on the board. They have a community garden, you have to go through them. And I guess that's what I would like to see, because I would like to see, I'm a big advocate of community gardens, and I've said that whenever we take over land, the county should look at these small ones to maybe have them be community gardens. But
Yeah.
I guess maybe that'd be too much for you, but I think if we can get a kind of a database or resource that these are the community gardens, this is who you go through to get it, that'd be a good start, because I know you probably just handle the county ones, but like I said, Kay says, Nina has them in the hot, that's a different spot.
Well, that really is the idea. And so if you look at the map, there's information. If you click on the garden that is listed, you'll find contact information, a phone number. You'll even find if we were able to get updated information about plots available for the year, you should be able to find out. Obviously, this is all like, depending on if you can get that contact information and if you can get the updates. But you know, it would be wonderful if this could be developed to also, like you're saying, be more proactive. Like, is there vacant land? Could there be more gardens? Who to contact about that? Who would be interested in organizing? There's so many possibilities. So I appreciate that. Yes, exactly. And yeah, that's just it. You gotta prioritize them.
There is a one farmer, the sheriff department over to it. Go down the street just a little way, there's one farmer there that grows flowers and vegetables. He was selling on 76 for a while, but then they shut that down because you can't basically have a stand on the side of the state highway, so.
Oh, is that why all of the stands on the side of the highways are gone?
Well. if it's a
Highways
state
and
highway,
byways.
It's kind of a hazard to have people pulling off on the shoulder of the state highway to buy vegetables, so, but he sells at the farmer's market. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, reach
Next,
out.
we'll go to 4-H and use and science with Sarah.
Okay, thank you. I'm just gonna pass around a sheet that I actually put together for our, excuse me, our 4-H board meeting that was Tuesday night. And as you notice, the first thing under that sheet says that Dana and I were at the county board meeting Tuesday night. So this is what I shared with our board on paper Tuesday night. So we were there, and you probably were all in attendance and heard of our Thrive survey results that Dana and I presented, and also had one of our 4-H members who, I know Karen said she looked at her record book at the board meeting.
Did all the record books get returned?
I believe we got them all back.
They were beautiful.
Our kids work really hard and are very proud of what they do, and that's one of their end products is to put together a record book to keep it, and it's very amazing to me. I was not raised in 4-H, so I'm always impressed with all of the work they do, and the record books that they put together are just amazing. So that's why we brought them to share with you, to show you some of their work, and then to hear Maria speak as well. And she, as I think I mentioned at the end of the meeting, that she was one of our Key Award recipients this year, which is like the highest award that our 4-H members can receive. So she was an excellent example to bring with us Tuesday night for you all to hear from. As far as education updates and things that I've been up to, I'm just wrapping up a lot of school visits and things. I do a lot of outreach programming with schools, particularly with after school programs. I've done several 6-week stints at Oshkosh schools. I did all of the Menasha schools, just finished up last week at Jefferson. And this year, for the first time, I'm working with the Oshkosh Boys and Girls Club. I've done schools for them in the past, but the last few weeks, I've been working at Amro Elementary, which is a new one for me. And I just love this little picture. If you see this little boy here, he's just a stitch. And I gave them 4-H stickers the first day that I was with them. And he's working on his activity with his partner there. And he put his sticker on his forehead. He was so proud of that. So trying to reach as many youth in our community as we can through our club programming, as well as the outreach and things that I do in the schools. Another really neat thing that we've been doing this year, we kind of adapted this booklet that was put together by one of our colleagues in Calumet County. And I've been leading some Cloverbud workshops once a month here. And we've done everything from, I think our first one was, I don't have my glasses, but we did a trail mix and talked about Robert's rules and how they run their club meetings. We did a gift ornament kind of thing in December. We built catapults in January. We did a Valentine's celebration with a lot of history in February. My favorite was Pi Day, because we actually met on March 14th this year, which is Pi Day, and being a high school math teacher, that's like super exciting. So you can see another bottom picture.
Okay,
here.
did they get actual pie or just give them math questions?
We made pies.
All right.
We did. We made pies together, and we did some little math measurements and stuff. So that picture there is us measuring things on a big circle on the floor. It's fantastic. Last month we had agriculture and in the classroom, and 4-H volunteer Rebecca Poppy come and talk about popping, or it was called Get Popping. We talked about popcorn and all sorts of other corn things, and she did an amazing job. And we did some experiments with air poppers, and she put cobs of corn in the microwave, and it was amazing. The kids
And
the
her real
adults
last
learned.
name is Poppy.
And her last name is Poppy.
No.
Rebecca Poppy
Then
talked
she has to
about
do it.
popcorn. And we got popping with Rebecca Poppy. And then just this past Monday night, we were in the meeting rooms here and talked about seeds and how they grow. We built some little terrarium things, and you can see them watering their seeds and things in this other picture. And next month, we will be working with Foodwise educator Christopher from our office, and she's going to come and talk about some healthy choices and talk about my plate and things. So we've been doing lots of different project exploration with our younger kids, and have had a full room. I mean, some nights it's only been about 12 kids less, or Monday night it felt like I had 50. I think there were 18 Cloverbuds, but I had older brothers, younger brothers and sisters, lots and lots of parents, and it's just a wonderful opportunity, and those kids are super excited, and they're signing up for Cloverbud Day Camp, which is coming up in July, and that's also on your sheet here. In the past, we've done 2 days of Cloverbud Camp, usually down at the town hall down the street, and we've also done it in our meeting rooms. But since COVID happened, last year, for example, we did it at Menominee Park, did a 1 day, the kids had a ball, we did all sorts of things at the park, we did a scavenger hunt at the zoo. Once again, just getting them out, having a great time, something to look forward to. And that's one basically without parents. They trust their kids with me and other volunteers that we have. And with that, you can also see on your sheet that we utilize our older youth as counselors for Cloverbud Camp. So we're just starting some trainings. In fact, I have my first training with our Cloverbud Camp counselors. I have about 10 of them, that most of them are middle school, and they will be leading the activities, the crafts, the games and things for Cloverbud Camp, and keeping good care of those little kindergarten through second graders for that day of camp. So that's coming up. And Dana and I have been working diligently with our summer camp counselors. We just had another mandatory training this past Sunday afternoon, a lot of youth protection and other kinds of things that the chaperones and youth needed to go through. And they're pumped. They're ready to go to Upham Woods on, what is it, June 27th?
27th through the 30th.
We've got roughly 100 kids going to camp with all of our counselors and all of our adult chaperones, and are going to have an extremely wonderful, well-organized camp coming to the end of June. So lots of planning, lesson plans and supply lists coming in, and excited about that one. And then just a couple other things that I've been working on. I worked with some members from our dairy committee to actually go through the applications of older youth who applied to be a James W. Crowley Dairy Leadership Award winner. Each year we can submit one name of an older youth. For that award, they are presented a medallion at the county fair at our award ceremony, and we can also turn in 2 additional names of people. And so these leaders, adult leaders from the community and from 4-H, reviewed those applications, submitted their responses to a rubric that we created, and our county winner is Lindsay Everly, and the other 2, Brooke Zilgus and Josh Stone, had their names submitted, and they're all eligible to continue the process with the state to get some awards, other plaques, and possible scholarships available as well. So congratulations to those young people, and hope they continue to do well. And then the last thing is the clothing review. We have a volunteer in our 4-H program who brought back pretty much several years ago the clothing review for our county kids. And we built it with Fond du Lac County for a couple of years, and then we expanded it to a couple other counties. And then over COVID, the first year, we did it via Zoom, and it was open to the state. And it was just an amazing opportunity to see all of those clothing, knitting, and crocheting, and other opportunities that the youth have to showcase what they design. And you talked about prom dresses. I've seen prom dresses. I've seen, oh my gosh, anything that you can sew or knit or crochet. These youth do an amazing job. And this year we are opening it up. It's on June 13th. It'll be held at the Fond du Lac Extension Office down there at UW whatever, Fond du Lac. And we will also be joining Calumet, Dodge, Fond du Lac, Manitowoc, and Washington counties this year. So if you're available, stop on down to Fond du Lac on June 13th. And I think lastly, Dana and I are working on a few things to not only be in the after-school programs, but maybe get into some classrooms this next school year, which we're really excited about. And stay tuned for updates on those things. Any questions?
Oh, yeah. And one of them, and I think you pretty much answered this, how do you get to kids that are not on the farms? Because one tends to think of 4-H as the farming community. And I've got grandchildren on Doty Island. And you sit there and say, so where are they going to have their goat? Or their sheep?
Do they have any
Or their
cows on Doty?
Any cows on Doty
Do they
Island?
have any cows?
Listen, I've got pictures of turkeys in my backyard.
I judged a couple of kids who actually lived in apartments who were displaying cows, but they were borrowed cows from, they would go to the farm, they would do the things that the farmer wanted the kids to do, whatever, and they were doing whatever they could, but they were living in apartments and they were still displaying cows. So there are ways of doing this, even if you don't live on a farm.
Yeah, some of the city kids will team up with local farmers,
Yeah.
kind of like a management contract kind of a thing. And the farmers will allow them to work with the cows and take them to fair.
And a large percentage of our youth don't live on farms and don't show animals.
Right.
Okay.
With all of the other opportunities that are available with the knitting, the crocheting, the cooking, the flowers and houseplants, the woodworking, the electrical, the mechanical, all of those things, we're reaching kids that are rural and urban.
Okay, so perfect, thank you. JPCC means,
James P. Coughlin Center, the building you are in right
here.
now.
Thank you. And then you did answer the age for the Cloverbuds is
Yes.
kindergarten, so 5 through 7.
5 and in kindergarten through 2nd grade.
So 8-year-olds
Yes.
would be included in that. Thank you.
And then the older kids, once they get out of Cloverbuds, they're in exploring, typically 3rd through 5th grades. And that's where they get to explore all sorts of other projects and things like that.
Sarah meets at the Boys and Girls Club over in Menasha, and I've been trying to get there for a
And
year.
Clovis Grove too, right?
Well,
They're
yeah,
right
right
next
next to
door.
my house. And I haven't yet, but it was interesting. And then they were putting an addition on the Boys and Girls Club, and I swore I was gonna be a farm with cows, but I was wrong.
It's an amazing
What's
building.
John's problem?
I don't know. So I mean, it's there. It's a matter of getting in there and getting opportunities that, and then kids, I mean, at the Boys and Girls Club, part of the reason they're there is their parents are working. So then it becomes an issue of how do I get to the event? Well, she's coming to the event, so they just gotta show up. But I still gotta get over there somehow. I don't know.
You need to come visit. Yep. Every time I go to Clovis Grove, I'm like, there's Tom's house.
Yeah.
There's Tom's house. But something else. I should say.
Well, interesting that you're asking about the kids who don't have access to animals and that, and how do we reach the city kids that aren't living in the rural areas? And that's one of our focus areas. So she talked about for the fall, getting into forming like in classroom clubs, getting into the schools during the day and bringing a program called Chick Quest. It's basically bringing an incubator into the classroom and hatching chick eggs. And not only learning about the life cycle of a chicken, but also about the industry, Wisconsin egg, chicken farmers and what is egg production in our state, and learning a little bit about that as well. So we're looking at that as possibly a new pathway to membership in 4-H, so that these kids can also, if they want to take their art projects that they do in school to the fair, they can do that. So we're trying to look at different ways, different pathways to becoming a 4-H member outside of just the regular community clubs that we have now.
And we've got a club started at one of the schools in Menasha right now as well. So that's
Okay.
utilizing after school program youth.
You're involved with both private parochial charter schools?
Well, no, we haven't been in the private schools right now. It's been mainly public and some of the boys and girls clubs.
Okay. Have you been over to, oh golly, what is it called? Youth Go? in
Oh,
Maine?
yeah,
Yes,
yep,
we've
I've
been
done
there.
some programming there.
Yep.
Yep.
I have over the years.
I think, starting with the Chick Quest program in the fall, what I've done is I've gone on to the Wisconsin DPI's report cards for the states, and it shows, I'm looking at what are the economics, the demographics for the different public schools. And I'm focusing on some of the lower income, more diverse schools within the county. Mainly 50 to 60% or higher families that are in some type of economic need. So focusing on reaching those ones first.
Just remember that's potentially exclusionary.
Well, it's actually part of our inclusion.
No, and when I say that,
Mhm.
I'm happy that those who have a need have it. I'm just saying that those other kids also have a need
Oh, definitely.
that are in that 40%,
Mhm.
that, and they need to be involved as well somehow or the other. And I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
no, and I understand where you're coming from
Yeah.
as well.
Because my grandchildren probably are not in the community that you're speaking of, but they are constantly outdoors and they're looking, y'all don't have doodle bugs up here.
No.
What a shame.
Yes.
These are the kinds of things that they might seriously be interested in doing, that again, they are not necessarily going to have contact with because of being in that 40%.
But we have Lake Forest.
That is true, and they do give us some green slime, don't they?
The green slime road.
Do we have any other questions for Sarah?
Thanks for Tuesday, it was great. Thank you.
If not, we'll move on to administrators department report, Chris.
I do have it, we're getting away from that. I thought your presentation at the board meeting was first class. I mean, coming in after the attorney had to be.
Oh, my
Gosh, that was very interesting.
Oh, I
Not
know.
only that, but you held I think you held the attention
Yes.
of the board, and that kind of, I've been thinking, and one of the things I've been thinking about is I've been there for 4 years, and I don't talk very much at the board. But Supervisor
Thank you.
Norton does talk quite a bit. And I'm just wondering if there's some way that we as supervisors, since we have 4 of them here, could take, like, I was going through this book. Now, all the people in the board get this book?
I believe you're on the mailing list.
I think you
The
were all
board, yeah.
added to it, yeah.
Because I'm very disappointed that I missed the drive-by steak fry.
Ah, okay.
And yet I see below it, there's a grilled cheese drive.
That I
still
mentioned,
get
yeah,
that.
because one of the supervisors asked when I was handing out the record books,
Right.
what do you know about the dairy breakfast on the farm? And I asked Maria, our youth, and she was able to give me
Yeah.
that information.
But now, and what I'm thinking is that presentation we have at the board is recorded and broadcast. Is there some way that our committees can give us, the 4 supervisors, I'm gonna take you out of it because you do enough already. A short presentation that we could make that maybe highlights something that's going on in the future. And I'm just thinking about, because number 1 is free advertising. We're gonna be there no matter what. It's just a matter of what to say and how to say it, because, I could slip and say we're giving out $100 bills. That might not be what we're doing. And I could screw everything up. But is that something we as a committee want to think about doing? And in
So-
essence, what we'd have to do is we don't necessarily need you guys to go to it. I'm sure that every once in a while would be good because you're good at what you do. But something written down that we could bring out, and it has to be short, right, Mike?
So something that's formatted on, of events coming up and.
Yeah, and not a lot of them, but hitting the big ones. And then when would we bring it up? Would we bring it up in the beginning of the meeting?
At the beginning when we have comments, yeah. But if we were fed a couple of different things that you'd like to have spotlight, that was something at the time of comments by supervisors, we'd have a chance to, put in a plug for it.
Yeah,
So think about it, and maybe we should talk about it and make it to the plan, and even Maya?
Mia.
Mia. Was either
That's
I
all
or Mia,
right,
and I
about
got it wrong.
50-50.
Mia, not I, but E, Mia.
Yep.
You know, even what she's doing, but then we have to be careful not to overwhelm them and get them in, but still, it's a
some
shock
of the
value.
highlights.
Maybe focus on a couple
Yeah,
things.
you know,
Right.
like, if we're doing a chicken fry, we'll have Steve, because he can't talk, dress up as a chicken, and that'll bring attention.
He
to
would do
what we're
that.
saying. Oh, I'm sure you would. Yeah, thanks, buddy. We're not done with this meeting yet. You're gonna get yours, right? All right, so excellent job, and something to think about, that if we want to put it together from all the committees, and then, I don't know, take one a month, but I think it'd be more like if the steak fry, that would probably take precedence depending on the time, so we get it out the meeting before.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Okay, that's all right.
So you okay, we'll move on to,
Mr. Chairman, I was gonna ask,
what?
does you have a Facebook page? Because,
Yes.
not only could we, good, because if I can subscribe to it, because if you have a Facebook posting for event.
Yep.
If I get it, I can post it on my page and then reach out more people, because like I say, some do and some don't, and like, that's a good reminder, get that word out. Not only is it the conference, the county board meeting, but if you have a social page on Twitter or Facebook, help you get that out.
Right. Yeah, so I think the steak fry is put on by the Farm Bureau, Winnebago County Farm Bureau, and we've shared that on our Facebook page. So yeah, just if you search Winnebago County 4-H, you should find it, and we put everything on Facebook, so.
See, and that deals into Mia's person on communicating. It's all kind of linked together a little bit, if we can find what that secret is. So it's out there, but I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, that's just it. There's so much out there to narrow it down sometimes is tricky.
I mean, I feel like we could maximize our website. Like, I feel like, Facebook is really good too, but I mean, sometimes it is helpful to have things on the front page that really pops up. Some stuff that is like happening right now kind of thing. And I don't know, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
it's hard to
actually
keep track.
we send out, in 4-H, we send out a weekly email blast to all of the 4-H people, and I think Ashley's been copying and pasting that to the extension website, and it usually pops up in the beginning, front page feed, if I'm not mistaken. But, unless you're checking the extension website, you're not going to see it.
You
So,
can lead a horse to water.
yes.
And potentially send it to Sue Artmer to have it sent to the county
Okay.
website, because I'm now getting to the point of looking at my emails kind of on at least an every other day basis.
There's so much stuff on your laptop
Yeah,
or tablet. It's just a
What I-
matter of finding it.
yeah. What I have a tendency to do is not want to go to Facebook, because I don't want to be on Facebook.
I've been successful with that, you know.
I like it. I mean, it's like when they had the fairs and the fair, they had a real nice, so you get to see the candidates that are running like that. Zoe, she was runner up for the fairs, the fair, so it's good for certain, like for the 4-H, the fair, a lot of the county involvement things that are, it's good to use the Facebook for. I'm not into the reading about what my friends are doing. and things
All the
like that.
gossip.
But I like the information that you can get for the 4-H and the fair and things like that, so it has purpose in my life. I'm not one that's gonna sit on there for 3 hours and see what everybody did that I knew, but I do like, basically, I'll type in 4-H and I'll type in the fair and, I'll see what's going on, and it's interesting, I'm always up to date on what they're working on, and, if I wanna basically try to participate or help, it works out good for me, but it's not for everybody. I mean, some people, they'll spend 3-4 hours on Facebook, and it's like, they can't put that phone down without looking at it. But if that's all, then we'll go to Extension Administration Department reports, Chris.
All right, thanks. I'm gonna just kind of give a broad overview of extension in our UW County partnership. Kind of both for Kay and also as kind of a refresher for all of the committee members. And I'm intentionally going to try to be fairly broad. And for example, Kay, if you'd like, I mean, I'm very happy to have a sit down where you and I can, go back and get into the nitty gritty if you wish, or we can go, bits and pieces and as we go. So,
Okay, thank you.
so a couple of things, just a real quick, going back to 1914 is really when the extension started. And if you think about, for those that might be history buffs, in 1914 and the 1910s, or just after the turn of the century, the United States had a lot of, there were a lot of financial crises, industrial revolution, population was growing, concerns about how we were going to feed our population. And in the grand scheme of things, our rural audiences, our rural population was the predominant underserved audience in the United States. So as part of legislation, the Smith-Lever Act, so provided cooperative extension outreach to provide research-based and university-based information to get out to the rural audiences, predominantly the farmers, and at the time their homemaker wives, to be able to have the, to be able to have up-to-date cropping, farming practices, and then what later would be termed as the home economist related topics as far as food preservation, and then being a thrifty and other home related tasks, things like that. So that's where extension started, and we moved forward to that's where the partnership, because it was through the United States Department, they granted monies to the land grant institutions, of which University of Wisconsin-Madison was that land grant in Wisconsin, to then be able to carry these outreach objectives to reach the rural audiences. Now, to do that with a Madison-based campus would be very difficult to reach out to the rest of the state of Wisconsin. So the county university partnerships were developed in cooperation. So that's where cooperative comes in. So this is a cooperative extension of the university. And so counties agreed. There have been agreements in place in varieties since I think E.L. Luther was either 1917 or 1915. Anyway, so E.L. Luther in Oneida County was the first extension agent in Wisconsin. In Oneida County, and he had an Indian motorcycle that he was provided, and he would little 2-cycle motorcycle, and he would then go around and visit either visit farmers or households or host educational meetings, and that's how it started. Now, not so fast forward, as our state and our nation has transformed, the fast forward to maybe today, the rural audience may or may not be the primary underserved audience. There's a variety throughout, and a variety of reasons where we're at. So expanding our mission and our vision of extension is really, I like to say that we are the boots on the ground for the Wisconsin idea. The Wisconsin idea is Charles Van Eys's statement that the benevolence of the, and I missed the quote, but essentially the resources and the knowledge of the University of Wisconsin we should endeavor for it to reach all of the residents of the state of Wisconsin, no matter where they work and live. That's my paraphrase version. And so that's kind of an overview of what our extension mission, to connect people with the latest university research and knowledge. and allow them to make decisions to improve their communities, their businesses, and their personal lives through a variety of different ways. Right now, we have 6 main program areas or institutes, and looking at agriculture, community development, health and well-being, human development and relationships, positive youth development, and natural resources. So those are and if you were to flip over, those correspond on the left-hand side, those correspond with the orange, blue, green, purples on the left-hand side. Those are our what I would call our academic or our outreach program areas. And then each of those institutes, so the bigger box, the agriculture, health and well-being, human development, relationships, those are our institutes, are broken into some subsets with some programs. So for example, we'll use MIA. So MIA is academically, so the other piece, I'll step back, because of this partnership, we have we have 4 different types of employees in our department that I have the opportunity to manage. Now, thankfully, it's only 2 HR systems, thankfully. But for example, someone like myself and Christy Gabrowska, who is the coordinator for the FoodWise program, which is a federally funded nutrition education program, we are fully funded state employees that are providing administrative and leadership responsibilities at no expense to any of the counties that we work in. So that's provided by the state. An educator like Dana and Mia are University of Wisconsin employees that are co-funded. So a portion of the salary is contracted with Winnebago County, and their respective institutes pay the rest of their salary and fringes benefits, and there's co-funding. There's an agreement that we're going to be part of a statewide effort, but we're also going to be in our local communities and regions and meeting the needs within their respective areas. All right. We also have individuals like Todd. Todd is focusing on financial education, which is a incredibly high need, and he is 100% county funded. He's a University of Wisconsin employee, and through conversations, the need is so great that we are utilizing the financial resources of Winnebago County to ensure that these educational programs such as Rent Smart, financial coaching, and encouraging financial conversations, those are kind of the top 3, right? All right. I do listen when we, okay. So that they're here, and then also like Todd and all interact within their state programs to contribute to multi-county, multi-area, or statewide program as well. There's a give and a take. So that's the example. And then we have county funded, fully county staff. So for example, Sarah is the youth and science, 4-H youth and science educator. She is a Winnebago County employee. So then she's her full salary fringes are part of the county in the labor line item. Same with Amy, Ashley, and Jody, who are also our program assistants that are providing the administrative support for those programs. So while it all seems it seems complex, but it all works together to ensure that overall mission of being able to bring the knowledge and resources and the research of the land grant system, University of Wisconsin, and all of the other land grant and university systems to be able to have it accessible and in variety of ways within our program areas. So we're not everything to everyone, but we're focused in these main areas. So if you look at the organizational chart, where we are is if you go over to the 4th column where it says Assistant Dean South Areas. If you look at Area 10, and then there are the 4 counties, Calumet, Outagamie, Waupaca, and Winnebago. essentially all of our University of Wisconsin staff are, while they have a county affiliation, so they would fit in one of those the blue boxes with their respective county or counties. I guess I would be part of that area 10 box, as I providing the administrative oversight and leadership. So Todd, Dana, and Mia also have another foot in one of the colored boxes with their programmatic affiliations. So we have some like geographic responsibilities. The other piece is that they also are able to focus on their programmatic. So for example, Todd is a financial educator. How much would you say 85, 90% is focused on financial education with some other related components? Maybe it ebbs and flows a little bit depending on the time of year. So he's able to focus on that by being part of that HDR financial education program, but he's located here in the county. So that's where maybe it gets a little bit, but that's where I'm going to say the beauty of the partnership is that we're able to be responsive to local needs, but also being able to tap into the most current set of resources, the most up-to-date information. And I would also say that there's also the federal connections, because there is the federal funding. So a combination of the funds are so we have federal dollars to the United States Department of Agriculture. 4-H is the only youth development program of the Department of Agriculture. That's key. So we also use state GPR, so state public state funds. Then the partnership with the county resources and the county levy dollars in partnership. Plus, then there are also different, not as much or very small, like there's private donations or other grants and other things that might come in for either special projects or in a much smaller term. I would actually put the 4-H Leaders Association Council. I always forget which one it is. Association. Yep. So they have a fundraising arm to provide support for 4-H educational programs and efforts and initiatives that may not show up on a balance sheet, but it's an important part of that youth development, the 4-H program contributions. So one of the things that I'm not going to go over the overview side, but just to give a couple of ideas, I am going to email this to everyone after the meeting, so that because all of those blue are links to the program pages. So if somebody wants to take a little deeper dive, that's a choice that you would have, and that those links would be available to you. The program are examples that is not inclusive of every bit of work that our office does, but it's trying to give you an example of some of the areas that we cover. So transitioning with some updates, I just wanted to let this group know that as of yesterday morning, I submitted the request to fill paperwork for the horticulture educator position. One of the things that I think for those that have been, I know Steve and probably Karen, because you've been on the longest, hiring through the UW system or through the UW is deliberate, which also means it can be slow. So we just have to, with so many funding sources that have public scrutiny, we have to make sure that we have open, transparent processes to ensure that we have well thought out, from position descriptions to application periods and windows to a thorough interview process and screening. So we're moving forward. Right now, as part of the process is to fill out a calendar. Likely, in all likelihood, it's going to be a September 1 start date, based on the interview processes and being able to, you also have to make some assumptions that right now there's not huge numbers of unemployment, so that most individuals are possibly, we have to factor in that they're employed and would have to transition from their current employer to this role. So give or take a couple of weeks, but it's also in the benefit of the employee to start at the first of the month, because they also would then qualify and be eligible for benefits on the first day of their role, as opposed to having to wait a 2-week pay period for that to happen. So just wanted to give you an update. So moving forward. So there is an opportunity. So in that case, this is so that, as I recall, as soon as the position posts, I'm going to ask, so if individuals want to share through their personal or professional networks to try and for a broad pool of candidates, we'll have that information available. Well, it does come down at the end. I'm the hiring authority for this position, but I do value a lot of input from others. So in the past, the first opportunity for input from this committee would go to the chair. So Steve, if we can talk, if you're interested in being part of the selection or the review process, we can look and start getting some dates, or there may be some other opportunities for the committee to provide some feedback as when we do the interviews. So just wanted to give the heads up there. The other piece that we're working on, and I'm working with all of the counties, and we're actually working on trying to be efficient from a statewide extension perspective, is we're working on tweaking our monthly updates or reports that we provide to you to try to be efficient and utilize some other reporting systems that we use on the state side to be able to use that as a base and to make those impact reports, those monthly reports to you, to try and essentially try to make the information that the educators are already inputting in to be usable in more than one place. And also want to one of the reasons I'm letting you know is because I want to be able to have conversation, because if it's not meeting the needs of you, the partners, the intended audience, then we may need to make some tweaks. And I have a note down, Tom, because there may be a section that we might be able to include like forecast or upcoming activities as part of that. Most of the intent is to kind of be a review of some of the impact or the outcomes of our programs, but there might be some looking ahead. Not to say that that's going to solve all the problems, but it might help in the intent of those of our monthly impact reports is not for this group to be the only sole county partner group, but that it would be available in some way, shape, or form to the full county board of supervisors. So now whether people read it or not, that's their decision. But just we're working on that to try and be more efficient, more effective, and still give the information to give you the information that you want. The one other final thing, and I think this is something that I think it's important to share with you, and Dana, you can we both, Dana and I, in the last couple of days have gotten some information. There's a livestock rumor going around the community or the statewide community that 4-H is discontinuing its support for livestock programs through 4-H in the state of Wisconsin. And the really short answer is that is a very untrue, unfounded, factually incorrect, fake news rumor that's going on, and that 4-H has zero intention of eliminating its support for youth livestock project and program education. We do currently have some staffing vacancies, so we have to get a little bit of creative at the state level as how that's being done, and individuals like not Dana specifically, but Dana's colleagues, county educators, are stepping up to be able to provide some of those resources. But this rumor seems to be picking up steam. And I just want you as a committee, you may have somebody that, because I realize that not everybody's on Facebook, but apparently those that are really like this rumor. And so you may get someone saying, hey, what is this about 4-H and livestock? We need to do something. Well, you don't really need to do something because there's not a change in place. So.
I'll be in charge of doing that.
Yeah, yeah. So I just wanted to share that with you as individuals that might get those types of feedback. I'm not 100% sure I've got some possible information of where this originated, and it may be someone who's running for an elected office who is using their social media platforms to campaign and using that as a topic. That's my non-professional assessment of the situation. So I just wanted to provide that as an update. So that's what I've got. Happy to answer questions, take feedback.
Todd's job.
Yes.
You had talked about that in the past, but I haven't, is there anything to say about that?
I am not at this time. Things are moving in a very positive direction.
And that's all you need to say.
I just need to wait for a couple pieces of confirmation, and my hope is that there will be that when it comes time to do the 2023 budget, that we'll be able to solidify that. Hey, a little background, Todd's role was started as a half-time role, and the need, and so two pieces. Todd essentially had two part-time positions within extension, and because they were posted how they were posted, they were separate. We essentially through through need and some opportunity, we were able to expand his role through some increased funding, one-time funding. So just for this fiscal year, to be able to increase that funding to make sure that he was full-time here with financial education focus. And I've been continuing to work at the state level to get that funding more solidified for more than just 1 year at a time. So that's what's moving in the positive direction, but I don't have the official stamp of approval, but it's looking really good, and it will be included in the 2023 budget. It would be effective on January 1 if it goes through.
I'm pleased to hear that, because I think that our educational programs don't focus enough on, hey, I'm out now. What do I do and how do I make it work?
Yeah.
And you've got credit card companies going out there and saying, hey, you can get credit and you only have to pay this much back each month, only to then discover that the following month it's gone up even more. And I've got a daughter-in-law who is in that position where she's paying back for her incidentals that she put on the credit card. So I'm really happy to know that there is information out there. Are we past this point? I've got a couple of things I'd like to say that are related to this committee, but not specifically that. And I want to thank you
There's
for the
comments for
history.
committee members listed on the agenda.
Yeah, I see that.
If you want to basically comments on some of the presentations or just.
Comments on other things that I'm involved in for the county.
Yeah, let's just do it under the committee
Okay,
members' comments.
Good enough.
Any other questions for Chris?
No, I just wanted to say thank you. I'm happy for the history that you gave us. I'm happy for the connection, because I was wondering how this happened.
Oh, you'll get happier yet. There's more to come.
And I think, Kay, the reason why I do that, and partially I would have done it anyway, but the conversation and the questions that the great questions that you were asking Dana and Sarah, is that yes, extension and 4-H was very specific to reach out to our rural farming communities, and in the grand scheme of things, in most of the United States, are white farming communities in the rural parts of the United States. So so that's where, and up until probably the late 1950s, that was the primary focus, before there started to be just an overall shift in how the United States was starting to just be comprised as, more suburban communities, and rural communities didn't necessarily mean you were a farmer, that shift in our culture and lifestyle. And that's where then we started to move. And there are still, I've been working with Extension since the early 2000s, and yeah, there are still individuals that are like, I want my children to raise a chicken, or I want to join 4-H. Is a chicken an okay animal so that they can be in 4-H? Because we don't have a lot of room. And I'm like, you don't need any animals. And so some of it, so there are still some of those misconceptions. Yeah, questions. Yeah.
And they monitor the makeup of the program. Like a couple of years ago, we didn't have enough minorities in the program, and we were instructed more or less to try to recruit more. They like a mixture. We don't want to exclude anybody from 4-H. So basically, if we have more of the well-to-do, well, then it's like we're favoring the well-to-do. We have to concentrate on it for everybody. So we do.
We want to be inclusive.
Right. Yeah, and so a little bit, just additional context. So this fall, all of the counties in Area 10 will be conducting a federal, a civil rights review to meet our federal requirements. So because we have federal monies, we have to at least document, and this is the base level, and we're hoping to do more than the base, is that we are making reasonable attempts to outreach to all the communities within, and in this case, within Winnebago County. Now, that does not mean that we have to, we would like to have our membership to be representative of the overall population. But the first step is to at least making reasonable outreach efforts to allow those families and those youth to make decisions in the 4-H program. But then also, same with Mia and her programs and Todd and his programs, to say, at least we want to say, hey, these are some opportunities for you to engage in educational programs. Whether you take it, whether you take people, whether they say, yeah, that's something I want to do, or,
Sure, that's a choice to be
yeah, that's
made.
a choice, right? Yeah, it's kind of like Steve said, or Tom, you can lead them to horse, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't.
Well, a little bit more of my history is our elder son, who is now 41 years old, was a wildland firefighter out west, working for the U.S. Forest Service. He was working in Lake George, which is south of the Continental Divide of Summit County, which is the ski resort in Colorado. And he had worked at this base for 2 years. And his leader came to him. Now, I don't know if y'all are aware of this. I am Caucasian. I am white. My children are white. He was told that he could no longer be a part of that community because he was too white and too male, and they didn't have enough diversity. He was then approached by the supervisor of the community of the larger area, the region, and he said, we can go to court for you on this because this is discrimination. James said, please wait, let me see where I land, and if I am happy with where I land, I will be fine. Well, he ended up in Northern California on some of the biggest fires that they had, and he was on a helicopter crew. And that poor guy terrified me because he was rappelling into these fires. And I just understanding where I come from, when we talk about discrimination can work in every direction, not just in one. And we're talking about a white Anglo-Saxon male here. And I thought it was really nice that his regional supervisor said, we can go to court on this because it is reverse discrimination. So there's that. Boom. I'm done with that one. I will then talk about comments for committee members, and y'all are learning a little bit more about my history.
I apologize, but I need to speak out.
Next, we got the special order.
Could you just do something before she sneaks
Yeah, I'm
out?
sorry you're
Sure.
leaving, because I'm gonna
Sure. Just real quick, stay standing. There's, ARPA dollars are coming up. And we're creating a committee. Now, Steve and Mike, I'm thinking there's one thing that 4-H does, it covers the whole county. That's one of the qualifications I'm looking for ARPA dollars and spending them, is something that takes in the whole county. Other than that, I don't know, but Chris and Steve, you know, if we gotta get something together, we gotta get something together. And before what kind of projects, what kind of dollars? Do you agree with me, Steve, or not?
Yeah, I think we should have a full county.
So, and Chris, this is for everybody and even Mia.
Thank you.
I'll get there, take me a while, isn't I? So, but, you know, and I don't know how it's all gonna come down, but you might know somebody that's on that committee, so if we can get it together.
And I'm sorry, can you say what project, special project was that? Or
ARPA dollars, there's $30 million.
American
that's
Rescue
coming in.
Plan? Gotcha, okay.
So, and I don't know what it is, but it's one of those things, it's gonna be kind of a juggling ball thing, because you don't wanna take and create something that you have to refund after the dollars are gone, and it has to meet certain requirements, which I don't know exactly what it is. But if we had something, what I like about this is that it's for the whole county. I like that. It isn't just for one area.
Right.
So think about that. Okay.
And I was gonna talk during the comments. I'm sorry, this meeting has gone on so long. Okay, two things that I was gonna bring up, because I did the barn thing last year. One, parents ought to know that we're coming. I guess I assumed they knew we were coming. I came with a name tag, I came with a clipboard, I came up to someone grooming some sheep, and I talked to the child owner, youth owner, and said, because the dad was doing the trimming, and I said, how much of the grooming is what do you do yourselves? And the dad, we do it all ourselves. And I said, I was just wondering, and look again at the kid, what parts do you take on yourself? Well, the father was, I mean, it was just like, so then I said, maybe I should have done this the first, to begin with. I said, I'm on the county board. I'm here inspecting, doing barn reviews. I'm going to make a list of how you're responding. I'm really trying to talk to the youth owners. Then the father kind of backed off, but I thought, boy, I was not expecting, like one of the first kids I talked to, the dad was going to go, "Ooh." I thought they were coming. I thought they knew we were coming.
Oh, okay, okay.
And that wasn't I don't think that was the concern. The concern is that some people get accused of bringing in professional fitters.
Oh, sure.
Professional what?
Professional fitters.
What's
So
a fitter?
a fitter is an expert who helps prepare the animals for shows.
Oh, I thought it was a dad and kids. I didn't.
No, I know, but that is a very common accusation to try and that essentially, instead of building people up, you tear people down. That in the animal world, you tear people down by accusing them of bringing in a professional fitter because their amateur work looks too good. Is what they're saying,
So
and it
you-
does.
This is way over.
Right.
This
Yeah,
is,
you
No,
set
no, it
yourself
is.
up- You set yourself up that without knowing that.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Because you were talking a lingo that they know that you did, but now
And,
when you
and,
do.
and there's
know-
very little that you could do to offset or diffuse that perception of that one individual.
And sometimes parents just like to speak for their children, that's. just-
Right.
yeah, and I really thought I was judging the child. I mean, it's more than judging I mean, I wasn't there to judge animals. I don't know if that's a sheep that's gonna be good for either shearing or for eating. I mean, I'm judging the kids and how they've done. So I thought wearing a name, my Winnebago County name tag, I thought it was gonna be obvious, but I don't
think
think he knew
9
I was
times out
coming.
of 10, you would be okay. You
Yeah.
just happen to be
Okay.
at the.
And the second thing is, I
Yeah,
can't remember the
the
animals. I
10th
think there were two older girls, easily college age or maybe even above, but kind of big girls. That was hard to tell. I think they had goats. They had no decorations in their stalls, and yet they were constantly doing something with these animals. And And the judging part of that slip that we get, there's a big percentage that's decorations. And I thought they did nothing. I had to give them a really low score on that. But what they were doing seemed way more important than how many gewgaws they had decorating their stall. So kind of think about how,
That would be something like for the fair board, because they're. the
oh,
ones-
that's who does, okay,
Mhm,
all
yeah,
right.
so, but that's, yeah, something that definitely could be brought to the attention.
Okay.
Is anything that's related.
So those
to
score sheets that I
judging-
got, I thought I got from you all, no?
Nope, that's all fair board.
Oh, okay. Well, those are my two comments
Yeah.
as a member, so then I didn't need
No,
you after, I'm
you're
sorry.
fine. No,
Okay.
I'm glad to hear about it though.
Yeah.
so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
See you, Dana.
All right, have a good
Bye-bye.
day.
Next, we'll go on to the special orders committee meeting schedule. That's just to talk about the meeting time and date. I mean, ever since I've been on here, we met on the third Thursday at 9 o'clock.
Right.
Normally, there's not a lot of citizens, like today we're on Zoom, we have nobody. doing
If
it.
everybody's happy with it, I'm happy with it.
I'm happy.
I'm happy.
I'm happy.
I think we should meet at night.
I'm gonna throw some in the
I don't
orchard.
think so.
No,
So
Okay, that didn't.
Chris would love that, wouldn't you, Chris?
I'd make it work.
Tablets
Um,
on the Zoom as I'm taking minutes from home.
So as I understand it, just so to meet the intent of the county board rule, Amy or I will put the next meeting date, and instead of just saying the next meeting will be, the chair or whoever will just ask, is that meeting date good? And if one person withdraws their consent or says, no, that meeting date's not gonna work, then we would have to find an alternate date.
I
That's,
can be bought, right?
so I'm just saying that's as it was explained to me, and it's each, we can have a time that we can plan. We're gonna need to meet, reserve meeting spaces and things like that. And it also gives an opportunity that if there are some conflicts, that then we can look at adjusting as needed.
And I also would add the fact that as we as members, if somebody comes to us and has a special concern and wants to take and meet at the meeting, we can come back and talk to Chris and find out if we could schedule, or Steve, I guess it would be, schedule a meeting that they can attend if there's something that important for them too, because that's always another option that we have.
And we always approve, like our next meeting would be June 16th at 9 o'clock. So we always approve the meeting date at the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
So like after the committee's comments, we'll approve the meeting date for next month so that Chris can rent the room and we can all make our schedule.
Yeah.
So we know that when we leave today, if June 16th at 9 o'clock is fine with everybody, that is when our meeting is. You can put it on your calendar.
Well, it's already there.
Yep, and we're all good to go.
I may not be there because I've got a wedding to go to down in Atlanta. But please don't change that just because of me. I will do my best to get online with it.
Yeah.
You zoom in.
Go on the Zoom.
As we're driving,
Don't.
no, I'll do my best to zoom in.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And,
But
that exactly is where the conversation of the unanimous consent portion comes in. So, yeah, the Zoom link will be
Up and running.
totally understood.
I missed the personal and finance meeting because I went to the Derby, but I didn't ask them to change it for me because it's like, there's 4 of them that can be, there only need 3 for a quorum. And it's like to make everybody change their schedule because I'm going on vacation, they have, if they didn't have a committee, then we would have to change it. So, if 3 of us were gonna go, we have to change the date. We have to have a meeting.
But if you're not gonna be here, make sure you call Steve up and say, I'm gonna be late or I'm not gonna be here so we can get that quorum, right?
Right, we always want to make sure we have a quorum.
sure, absolutely. Well, I'm telling you right now, I'm not gonna be at the next meeting,
I got you
June
in
the
a minute.
16th.
Sounds good. Next, we got the comments from the committee members. Now's your turn up.
Now's my time to speak up, huh? I have been involved in 2 other committees. One of them is the Diversity Committee, and the other one is the Land. First one I want to speak about is the land and water conservation. One of the things that happened is I went to the Lake Winnebago County or Watershed Committee down in Fond du Lac last Friday. absolutely fascinating. There were people from the extension who were talking about farmers that they are working with over in Calumet County in not tilling their lands. And that was absolutely fascinating, but they said they're only able to do that for 2 to 3 years, collect the data, and generally speaking, although that has been successful, the farmers go back to plowing. Now, why was it interesting specifically to me is because the ground retains the water for longer if you do not till it. And they also put undergrowth between the cornfields. And so they're doing 2 additional things that you don't do when it's tilled. Just one of those things that I thought was absolutely fascinating. The other thing that was really interesting was they had people from Green Lake come and speak. And what they said was that Green Lake is beautiful. It's one of the deepest lakes in the state. It's 600 feet deep. The community surrounding the lake tends to be very residential. Maybe a lot of people coming in from Illinois. Maybe they are properties that are on Airbnb, and so people come in. But the landowners want to make sure that their property looks beautiful. And the majority of runoff, 60%, is from those properties around the lake. The agricultural part is only 40% of the runoff. And they're saying that the lake is dead below 30 feet. Just interesting information. And you sit there and say, why is that gorgeous lake dead? And apparently it's because of the phosphorus runoff. Just an interesting little tidbit. As far as the diversity committee goes, it was very confusing. Steve had approached me on Tuesday saying, Kay, please, no, on Monday, you had approached me, Kay, please make sure that you're at this meeting. It was very confusing because the extension put it on their website, which was Google, and the county had it on their website, which was Zoom. The people from the extension canceled the meeting because they didn't have a quorum. The rest of us were on Zoom, and we were there saying, where's this meeting? And then one of the members got an email saying that it's been canceled because we didn't have a quorum. We figured that out, and one of the members said, we need to record this meeting. And she had to do it on her phone because of the differences. And one of the things that was discussed was this is a public meeting, and we need to make sure that the public is informed about it and that they know that they are able to join it. And that it is recorded because, as you say, there is a great deal of education that goes on in these meetings. I would like very much for us to figure out how on earth this committee is supposed to meet, if we're supposed to meet, and how it's going to be recorded. And it was all done by Zoom, and we were talking about wanting to do it in person. So.
Steve, you're good at that.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a misunderstanding. Apparently, whoever called in to sue put a county extension, and the links got mixed up. I mean, I've been on that committee for basically a year. It's never happened before. You know, to err is human, you know. And
Oh, and
to forgive is divine.
Oh, and I am very prepared to forgive. All I'm saying is we need to get it sorted out. If we want this to be a cohesive group,
right.
and I'm finding that it is more extensive than I originally thought, and I find that it has the potential of being very interesting. But if we're gonna do it, we may need to make sure
I
that,
think he said it's only happened once in the over a year, that this is, there was some
So-
glitch just this one time in the over, that's never happened before.
Never happened before. You know, it's like, I don't know how it happened. I'm sure it won't happen again. And it's like you didn't, I guess, you thought nobody like told you how, like, there were only 3 members there, and I was probably still a member because I didn't get reappointed to, and
I wasn't a
you,
member.
but we had a quorum because I probably was still a member. But the other 3 people that were there, Beth Roberts works for Human Services, Mandy works for the Extension Office, and we had probably 4 people there for it. So that's why when they asked if they had a quorum, I didn't say we didn't have a quorum, because officially, I don't think I was taken off that committee until Tuesday night when John put me on the
Mhm. And I was put on.
UW Oshkosh Fox Cities. So I believe we had a quorum, but normally it's not like that. Normally the meetings run really smooth, and you had a bad experience, and, you know, I apologize for that.
Well, and I'm just wondering if they are actually recorded, because apparently there was not going to be a recording of
If
that.
we would have been on the UW, it says recording in progress and lets you get off if you don't want to be recorded. We were on a Zoom meeting, just like this meeting is being recorded. We were on a different system. So if Mandy sets up the link, it will be recorded.
Okay.
But it was messed up with the link at the, somehow Sue got the wrong to Zoom, and it's never happened before. I it was no different than you. I went to the link and there's no,
There's nobody there. And then we find out that the meeting's been canceled.
right, because they went to the UW link where we
Yeah,
should have
yeah.
had that
Yeah.
link on.
Well, thank goodness there was communication that happened so that the meeting did in fact move forward.
Yep, and you'll always see, like, the staff will be there facilitating that meeting. They help, like, if we want some information, we don't always have access to it. So Beth Roberts or Mandy, they will get the information we're looking for. You know, they're there to, you know, like, we do the procedures and the budget to make sure that we can change something if they need a procedure change, and if we need money, we can help them fund it. They're there to get us the information to make a decision. So it's like when we're talking and we want information on some project we're working on, they will work to get that information so that the next meeting they have it so we can move forward. So you're always gonna have probably 2 or 3 people that are county employees or state employees helping the committee.
Sure.
We don't have a director
Sure.
and we don't have a paid coordinator. So the 7 people that are on that committee all have full-time jobs or maybe retired, but they don't have access to everything that the staff has. So that's why, like, it seemed like we had 7 people there, but in all reality, we only really had 4 of the committee members there. And
Okay.
normally it goes really smooth. Mike's been on it for, you know, basically since it started too. And it never, that was just a messed up day. And
What is the total number of people on that, in that group?
there's 7 people on that committee,
Okay.
but this will be the first time ever that committee was full. We've never had 7 people before. We've had.
It's been
4.
foundering for the last year because it hasn't been fully appointed by the county executive. He has kept that committee at a minimum, and it has never been fully staffed, fully appointed. This is the first time it
Okay.
was fully appointed. It's taken a year to get that done.
So now you actually have a committee of 7.
Yes, and I wasn't sure about the total number of people who were supposed to be. on
If
that
there's
committee.
5 citizens, like on your Indian water, you have 2 citizens and you have 5 supervisors. On the university committee, you have 2 supervisors and 5 citizens. So it's, the makeup is. there's only two-
Although 2 of them are from the extension.
One from the extension, and Rachel Dowling's not from the extension. Rachel Dowling.
No, Rachel is from us. I know who Rachel is.
Right, Rachel and you are the only 2 supervisors on there. One from extension, that's you, and Rachel is just a supervisor at large.
Okay, and so the other 5 are,
Makeup of citizens of the city of Winnebago County.
and 2 of them are employed by
No,
Who is Beth employed by?
she's not on the committee.
Winnebago County.
She's not on the committee.
She's not on the committee.
So what, okay, so she doesn't get to vote.
No.
All right, and Mandy is from,
Extension, but she is not a voting member. She just provides.
okay, so there are
So-
5 voting members.
Seven.
7.
5 citizens and 2 supervisors.
Okay.
Just like how in the land and water, you have 2 citizens and 5 supervisors, so you got a voting of 7.
Okay,
Like that Casper, he can't vote, and whoever comes and gives you a presentation, you know, the director doesn't vote. He gives you a presentation. That's what they're there for. There's 7 voting members that it makes up the committee.
okay.
The rest of them are there just for basically giving you information and if you want them to find some information for you, they will help you to do that.
Thank you.
I have, I guess it's procedure type thing. Do we do parking lots here though? Like, I think I have 2 things to put in the parking lot that should be addressed, that maybe could go in the minutes. One of them would be ARPA funds.
Okay.
And the second thing would be if we're gonna be having the supervisor speak at the board meetings, who, you know, it's just who's in charge of that? Or what do we do? How do we do it?
Parking lots are actually highway department. That's why they're doing the parks for $750,000. So if you want a parking lot redone, you have to talk to Bob Dingler, the highway department. Because they're in charge of parking lot maintenance.
There's another committee I'm on that uses parking lots, and it just threw me for the longest time, but it's really, it's something you can track, so you know that it's something that has to be done. And then it gives you the advantage of assigning it to somebody, so you know who's supposed to do something, at the next meeting, it can be, you know, there's something done with it.
I mean, your parking lot is terrible, you know, I tried to get them to crack and stripe it for over a year. It's like.
I'd love to see how we're gonna get this done.
It don't happen.
Different types of parking lots.
But I did get the parks for $750,000, but that took me 2 years to, and they're gonna be paving the parks this coming summer, so.
It takes
Nothing-
time.
nothing
Patience,
goes fast here.
patience. It's one of the lessons I find God continues to teach me. Kay, be patient. Kay, be patient.
Try your
I don't think I
patience.
would like looking at parking lot.
The
Any other-
minutes will be right, I think.
Any other comments? Hearing no comments, the next meeting date would be June 16th at 9 o'clock,
Correct.
and I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Oh, no.
First, I gotta have
Non-debatable.
first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
First, have a good trip back to
thank you,
Cloverbud.
everybody.
I do.
And you know, one of the
Do
things
they give you mileage?
I need to tell